Nick Beres.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line on this wet and rainy Tuesday morning. A good day to stay in, join in the conversation. We've got a great show on tap for you. If you have to head out, yeah, the rains are letting up, ponding water, just as always, be careful. But I suggest you just join with us this morning. We're going to get the phone number up there in a moment. We did open phones yesterday. We talked about it today. We're going to take it a little bit further, looking into this phenomenon, the disturbing one of the mass shootings. The most recent, of course, church shooting in Texas, as we're learning more and more, not only about the killer in this case, but circumstances around everything that happened and some of the heroes involved. We're going to hear about that as well, since now we've heard from not just one, but both of them. And boy, they saved lives in this case. And the larger question, everyone, wherever you happen to live, wondering, all right, what can you do for security? Is there any real way to prevent these nutcases from doing this, and churches and the like? Good person to talk about it with us, and he's been around a long time dealing with this. He's always at the forefront in terms of gun safety, gun training, and personal security, all of that. With us this morning from the Academy of Personal Protection and Security here in town is Buford Tune. Good morning to you, sir. Former Metro police officer. You and I go way back to the Larry Britton days.
Right.
You've been, and you look exactly the same.
Well, maybe an extra person or two
well.
here.
Well, thank you for coming on this morning.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's crazy. Many of you followed the story, and you know, the other church shooting most recently, of course, was in Antioch. And Emmanuel Sampson, who is the suspect in this case, who, by the way, is still alive, which is rare in these cases of mass shootings, he actually came through your academy at one point, did he not?
He attended the unarmed security class the Friday before that shooting on Sunday.
We've interviewed you about that, and what you told me and what you've said prior to this is that nothing that you or anyone else would pick up about Sampson that he might be capable of committing such a crime.
Absolutely. I mean, he just as calm. There was absolutely no indicators whatsoever about him at all. He was, matter of fact, he even assisted in calming down one of the students in the class who was being a little disruptive. Told him, said, you need to calm down and pay attention. This is important. Stuff to them, maybe not those exact words, but he was just as calm as he could be.
Well, and that's kind of what you heard to some degree from family members with the Las Vegas shooting. Now, in this case in Texas, I think you and I are both learning more this morning about the individual there, and there were warning signs with regard to him. Now, I don't think anyone would predict that, this guy is going to commit a mass murder, but he was in the Air Force.
Correct.
And there's some questions being raised about now, would he have been able to get the weapon he purchased to use in this killing had the airport or the Air Force done proper procedure based on his court-martial? He
would have not been able to purchase it legally if all of his record had been reported to the NCIC. Now, that's not going to keep him from, buying a stolen gun or somebody on the street. But he would not have been able to go to a licensed dealer unless the dealer was crooked, and bought the gun himself, filling out the paperwork. The ironic thing is, you've got paperwork that you have to fill out. Well, you got questions on that you have to answer, but crooks lie.
Sure.
They're gonna check. Yes, I'm a marijuana user, or I'm a drug user, or I'm a domestic violence person. They're not going to check those blocks and say yes, we are.
No.
They're going to lie. They're going to lie about everything on there.
So that's why they have to punch the name in to check, right?
Exactly. But now, what can happen is once this comes up, the federal government, if something comes up that Nick goes in and buys a gun and he lies on the form, and then something pops up somewhere, then they come back and start doing investigation. Well, okay, now they can nail you for lying on a federal form to federal investigators. So that's just an added thing there. But the dealer has no way of knowing what's going on without running the background check through NCIC as required.
And so they did this, but because the Air Force did not, he had been court-martialed on at least one, possibly two cases of domestic abuse, one where he fractured the skull of his own son.
Correct.
And it was not put on there, and I can tell you the Air Force is looking into that today. Had that been on there, it would have precluded him, but you make a great point. I think, one way or another, he probably, if he was dead set on doing something like this, found a way to get a gun.
Oh, he could have, broken a house, stole it, or
bought it from someone who's advertising or a dealer that you can legally buy. I can legally buy a gun from you right here, right now. Right. But I guess I was going through again. I'm trying to. What kind of weapon was it again that he had? I can double check.
It was a rifle, but I'm not. It was an AR type rifle, but I'm not sure exactly.
Does it fit the category of an assault type rifle? It was not fully automatic or anything like that. But it could have done a lot of damage beyond what he did. And when you say a lot, all right, 26 people dead. Oh my goodness. But he could have killed everyone in the church.
Right. I heard this morning that they had recovered 450 spent shell casings.
Okay.
So that meant he changed magazines a lot.
All right. And he had more ammo. They said they found in his vehicle other weapons as well. So had this hero, who we're going to talk about now, you had heard from one individual who had been in a truck that helped chase with the neighbor. But the truest hero in all of this is this individual, Stephen Williford. We hadn't really heard from him until really late last night and this morning. He's that neighbor who's, I guess he was in his bedroom and his daughter came in and said, I hear shots outside. He gets up, goes to his gun safe, grabs his rifle, runs out barefoot, sees what's happening, gets behind his truck and exchanges fire. Actually hits this guy twice.
Correct.
Any doubt in your mind, had he not been there to respond, that this guy would have continued shooting?
No. I mean, I hate to coin the phrase, but the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And it's the only way. You're not going to take on somebody with a gun barehanded.
Right.
But he did. Of course, the stories we hear about how good a shot he was, and he actually put the round right between the vest and the crack. No. You don't have time to stand there and aim. He just shot.
Yeah, he shot.
And you just shoot at the target.
Yeah, because you're right. He had body armor on, the suspect in this case, but he ended up running from the scene. Right. And then the police say it appears he shot himself once he crashed his car. But they also found 2 other wounds, one to his leg and one to his abdomen.
Correct.
So this Williford fella did hit him twice.
Yes, at least.
Just hit him twice. Right. And again, in your mind, there's no doubt, had he not responded, he would have continued shooting.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I guarantee he would have.
And it gets to the mindset again, and I've said this time and again, when it comes to these horrible killers, yeah, they're tough guys when they're catching a bunch of innocent, unarmed, unsuspecting people in a building and just start shooting. The moment you stand up to these losers, okay, someone with a weapon, they run, be it law enforcement or this neighbor, they run like a little scared, and then they take their own lives. Right. Cowards is what they are. They're cowards. I don't know if they think they're tough. You see all these pictures they post on Facebook with their guns and all this, and then they go target these helpless people. Correct. Someone stands up to them, and they run like little chickens.
Evil runs when good appears.
Yes. He's being hailed as a hero in this, and and I know whenever these shootings occur, Buford, and some of what our viewers may want to sound off, it always comes out about what more can be done to restrict the guns getting into the hands of bad people, while not limiting them getting into the hands of people like Williford.
Correct.
And that's a fair discussion to have. I mean, I'm not anti-gun rights, but I want to do everything I can to make sure people like this killer doesn't get a gun.
Oh, everybody does.
Now, on the other hand, people say, well, and you heard the president even say, in terms of limits, maybe making it more difficult to get a gun. And I don't know that I agree with the president on this, but he said, well, if you'd done that, maybe Williford wouldn't have a gun. Well, I think Williford would have had a gun because he's a law-abiding citizen. I think he actually was a former trainer with the NRA at some point. He would have had one. But, that question will come up now, won't it?
It does every time.
But again, here's a case with someone who legally had a gun that did save the day. That doesn't always happen.
Right.
That doesn't always happen, right?
That is correct.
Well, you and I have talked about this before, where if it's in an enclosed area, I'm inclined to think, if you're there with me and someone has a gun and you have a gun, well, I'm glad that maybe you can help, defend us. But I want law enforcement, because I worry in an enclosed area, all of a sudden shots being fired, and you, even though meaning well, accidentally shoot me, right? I mean, now in this case, this guy did the right thing. The guy was outside just shooting at the church. But do you know what I'm saying about...
Oh, I agree 100%.
A lot of people say, well, you don't want to take guns out of law-abiding citizens because they could be the ones there saving the day. Well, you know what? In this case, it worked. But there have been other cases where the law-abiding citizen pulls the gun and ends up shooting innocents by accident, right?
And yes, and not only that, you got to think that dressed as we are, when the police show up, the person with a gun in their hand is a bad guy.
Right. So they don't know.
So, you know, when people, they say, well, the police, you'll put it down, you're going to put it down. You're not going to hear that.
Right.
When this adrenaline is pumping, you got the tunnel vision going, you know, people are going to be, that's the reason you see law enforcement officers screaming commands all the time, is because they have to each other, because they're so focused on the threat, they don't hear what's going on around them.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's going to be.
It's going to be.
Yeah. But yeah, the biggest thing is people have got to understand you got to have a survival plan, because you never know how strong you're going to be until it's time for you to be that strong.
Yeah.
So when it happens, you got to have this plan. You know, you may not want to be the John Wayne standing up and shoot them all and let God sort them out. Mm-hmm. You may be one of them going to get down into the carpet and wait till it's time for you to do something.
Right.
So you can't just spontaneous jump and go after something and put yourself and others in danger by just, I hate to use the word stupid, but I guess that's what it would be, stupid reactions that I'm going to save the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to have a plan. No matter where you are and what you're doing, you got to have that survival plan.
And I guarantee you, on this morning now, and in light of everything we've seen, more and more people are coming. I come up with plans. I think about when I'm working out at the gym or something. What happens if an active shooter here comes in? And training is, well, we're going to get into all that. What you can do in terms of trying to maintain your own safety these days, Correct. Even in your own church this next Sunday. Gosh, can you believe it? The number is 737-7587. If you have a question or a comment for Buford, join us. We'll take your calls and continue our conversation in the aftermath of this most latest mass shooting right after this. Stay with us.